Game of Thrones Emmy love confounds the show's critics column. Today's widespread Emmy recognition for You Now for a single season, a record that it seems odd the heavily decorated drama didn't already have you comes in most senses as no surprise. This series is both, which brings us to the one way in which these nominations might have come as a surprise to some. Benioff and vice, part of this can be attributed to Emmy gamesmanship, as shows that have liked in the past ducked out of the way of the Westerosi dragon. Perhaps loses it, but the show's nominations are not, entirely, the result of a burst of valedictory love for a departing series, or recognition of the show's status as a smash hit. In other words, the Academy found a way to honor Game of Thrones that felt, in a way, out of line with the moment, given the apparent consensus view that the show's 8th season represented a creative collapse. As a fan of the show,
raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.